Again, I take in my surroundings. A cube of metal-painted oily gray, with a brushed steel toilet and sink occupying one corner and a narrow bunk opposite. A stout metal door with an inset plexiglass slab, duct-tape blind from the outside. It's like Beckett, but worse. No sun shines on the nothing new. I can't see out, but I'm pretty sure they can see in, since they keep the lights on, poisoning my sleep. They're watching me, and listening too, no doubt. I look around for beady camera lenses no bigger than an insect's eye. And then, the rap of a metal baton on the door, a call of "Clear the hatch!" and my interrogator slips in, lifting a folding chair over the threshold. He's out of hazmat, as are the rest of them. Looks like they're satisfied that their cure works as well as ours. "More?" I say. "Just a few questions," he says. It's what he always says. Is there something I don't know that I know? The voice that always drones away inside my head, sometimes like a pesky little brother, and sometimes like a strict parent, and sometimes like someone I think of as myself, recites a sort of ditty with the insinuating logic of a kid's nonsense verse. There are known knowns. These are things we know that we know. There are known unknowns. That is to say, there are things that we know we don't know. But there are also unknown unknowns. There are things we don't know we don't know. What do you mean by that? Says the interrogator. I didn't realize I had spoken the thought. Why haven't we landed? You know there are people dying, right? He doesn't answer, but one of my guards in quarantine had told me that the Ronald Reagan keeps its massive self just over the edge of the horizon from land, just out of sight of the island. Aren't you gonna run out of fuel? To my surprise, he actually answers this one. This is a nuclear-powered ship, he says. We can stay at sea for 20 years at a time. He smiles. I realize it's his pride in the ship that made him talk. Maybe with America gone, it's all he has to call home. I try another. Are we the only ones left? Are you the only adults who don't have the sickness? My guess is that the carrier is a little floating city-state in a sea of death. Or maybe there are other ships at sea, a water-bound quarantine that's protected them from the sickness. Beyond that, how could the adults have survived? The sickness decimates everything. No, says the teacher in my head, it does worse than decimate. The word decimate originally referred to the Roman custom of punishing legionnaires. They would select, by lot, 1 out of every 10 soldiers in a legion that had mutinied and put them to death. Discipline through terror. What the sickness did was worse. All the little children, all the adults gone. The sickness, like an advertiser, respects the teen demographic. I thought you might like some extra dessert, he says by way of changing the subject. He holds out a foiled sealed cup of fruit salad. He's been trying to train me with these doggy treats for a week now, like he wants my memory to sit up and beg. I take the plastic cup. It's still cold from the refrigerator. Even if the ship could stay afloat for 20 years, they couldn't feed everyone on board, could they? Once I saw a documentary about carriers that said the biggest ones had crews of thousands. How long could they survive off the ship's stores? They'd need fresh supplies. If I can talk to Brainbox, maybe we can figure it out. I bet Box is vacuuming information in, no matter how hard they try to keep him in the dark. Or rather, no matter how hard they try to keep him in the dim. Like the low fluorescent light, the interrogators feed the mind a numbing trickle of illumination, enough for it to think that there's nothing more to know. Back at Plum Island, when the helicopter had done its Deus Ex Machina thing, hanging in the sky fat and ungainly as a bumblebee, I had hoped for a lot better. I guess after everything we'd been through, I'd reckon on a hero's welcome. A slap on the back, an ice-cold Coke. You've done good, son, now the nightmare is over. A slice of pizza? Instead, questions, like a shitty episode of Law & Order on permanent replay. Why did you fire on the helicopter? I said, we didn't fire.